Once again, I bid you welcome to non-boring HEMA sparring, where we take a look at fights that I recorded with my friends and training partners, analyze them and talk a little bit about the techniques we can see on display. HEMA sparring doesn't need to be boring, it doesn't need to consist of two people in boring looking fencing gear fighting one another. It can look pretty too, and you can learn quite a bit from it. I hope you enjoy it, have fun. We're starting with some Messer stuff. It's always really fun for me to fence with one-handed weapons from time to time, because your reach is way different than it is with your longsword, for example. Your second hand isn't forced to keep a hold on your weapon, so you can extend your body out quite a bit further. And Messer is one of the coolest weapons anyway, so sparring with it is a lot of fun. With Jacob, we're most of the time going for Bloßfechten, because he's from a more traditional school of historical fencing than myself. I enjoyed quite a bit because it's different from really heavily geared up sparring. You have to be mindful not to put yourself in harm's way. When we are going for a thrust or a hit towards the face or head, we're leaving quite a bit of distance between our weapon and our opponent, because it's not safe otherwise. In contrast to that, we have longsword sparring for HEMA, as you can see here, with a partner from my local fencing club. We're all geared up, so if we receive a hit or two, it stings a bit if it's a heavy hit, but other than that, some of the times you don't even notice it. And it completely transforms the way you're acting. It transforms the way you're going in, because you know that if you get hit, it doesn't hurt as much, and you go for way riskier moves than you would otherwise with a minimalistic fencing setup. I really enjoy the competition with other people, and to see who is quicker, faster, stronger, better, so to speak. But it's nice to get both perspectives here, and it makes you a more complete fighter, in my opinion. Also, this heavily geared up HEMA sparring can look quite boring if you're not already really heavily into that scene. Most of the people don't find it as compelling as watching the Bloßfechten I just showed you, because you can't see a lot of the person. The face is blurred because of the fencing mask, then there's a lot of gear covering the body. Yeah, it has both its pros and cons. Personally, I'm trying to be more of a defensive fighter, so I'm trying to bait out an action from my opponent, as you could see here. I was twirling my sword around to bait him into an attack, and once he did, I stepped to the side and slashed towards his belly, hit, and didn't receive a counter hit. And for me, that's a good exchange. I'm not scared or afraid of going in, but well, I'd rather hit my opponent from a distance. Typical of HEMA, you see a lot of Oberhaus. That's just to be expected. I personally love thrusting, but there is a time and a place for that, and if you've had 2 hours of practice already, sometimes it's not the best idea to go straight into rhino mode and thrust into your opponent, because you tend to lack a bit of fine-tuning and control in your body when you're already a bit exhausted, and staying safe is mandatory in almost all martial arts anyways. You can see some clean hits from both sides being scored here. We really try to avoid the double hits, and if you see people scoring lots of double hits, it's either because both are at the same level, or one of them is a beginner. I think it should be mandatory to always try and protect yourself. And even if you do, as you can see here, I still received a hit on the shoulder. But that's a good exchange in my book, because he went for a good attack, didn't get attacked in return, and I at least tried to cover myself properly when going in. And in the next exchange, you can see that it actually worked. I provoked the same sort of attacking pattern from him, went into the same defensive positioning, but moved my blade just a bit further as to cover my shoulder better, and then I was successful and hit him, and he couldn't hit me. It's just a lot of fine-tuning in the process, and for that you need to keep your head in the game. You need to be really mindful of what you're actually doing right now. You can't, I mean, you can, but you shouldn't just go in willy-nilly and say, well, I guess I'm just going to hit you and then I'm going to hit you again. You have to actually think, and you have to actually plan. Otherwise, you won't really be a successful HEMA fencer. Yeah, this clip was awesome, by the way. We are using different kinds of feders for fencing. I'm using a heavy one because I like to be prepared for competitions where I'm going to use that exact feder. And he was sparring with a lighter one, knowing that it could actually damage the blade, and well, we sort of decapitated his tip, but it looked awesome, and he was a great sportsman about it. I felt worse than he did, I think. Yeah, that was fun and quite exciting, honestly. We gave it a proper burial and send off. What I'm doing here is presenting my opponent with a lot of long point action. I really like doing that because I feel quite safe when I'm using a long point. Of course, an opponent could go for a hand snipe. If I'm holding my weapon here, he could just dip his sword and then do this one. But I know that he can do it, so I'll just tip my sword up or pull back into a fluke. And then once he steps forward, I'll thrust it out again. I think long point is a very good and very safe defensive position, and I'm trying to challenge myself every few weeks. I'll really push one specific guard. So for the next weeks, it's going to be the ox position. For the last few weeks, it was the long point. And that forces me to really deeply learn how this position actually works. I'm not only reading about all of its pros and cons, I'm actually experiencing them, and that makes learning it and deeply understanding it quite a bit better, in my opinion. Although honestly, I do train quite a lot, and I can maybe spend way more time with training than normal people, or than people normally could. But that's just what I do, and it works really well for me. You can see quite a bit of exhaustion coming in there. Our structure isn't as good as it was in the beginning of the bouts. We score a lot of double hits. And criticize ourselves about it and saying, man, I mean, that looked cool, but it was really dumb of us. And I like this kind of fencing. Yeah, by the way, one-handed thrust right there. I love doing those. They can be quite a bit more powerful than you expect, as it was the case here. I felt bad about it. He wasn't hurt, but I almost hurt him, and that's too close for comfort. That's too close for comfort for me personally. I like to be sort of nice to my training partners. That means, of course, we're hitting each other, but we're really respectful of the other's health. And so, yeah, I pulled back a little more for the next bouts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. As always, leave some comments, please leave some likes, share the video. I'm trying to get more people to watch my long form content, so I'm trying a few new different formats. So please let me know how you like it, if you like it. If you have some criticism, leave that as well. If you have constructive criticism towards my techniques and see, okay, Guy, you could do this better and this better and this better, then please feel free to leave that as well. I love learning from other people. When it comes to martial arts or sports in general, I leave my ego back at home in my sock drawer because I want to learn, and you can't really learn if you're not open about learning. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Ragnar from Fraser & Fencing. I hope to see you again in my next video. Ciao!